to DC Daily. I'm Clark Wolf, and I can't have a movie club without the club part, so here's Hector Navarro and Samm Levine. Hey, guys.
Woo! Movie club!
So good to see your bright, shiny faces. Well, not shiny. You guys look great.
No, I'm shiny. I need a little makeup. It's doing this from home. It's not my best.
I'm sweating because we just watched this movie and what a thrill ride.
Wait a minute, you guys. I just realized we're about to talk about Catwoman, and she's turning 80 years old this year. Happy birthday, Catwoman. She doesn't look a day over 29.
I couldn't agree more. All right, so friends, if you thought that Birds of Prey, the TV show, was the only time capsule around, well, buckle up. Because today we're talking about 2004's Catwoman, and this is a movie we watched.
I feel like I was the only one of the three of us who had seen Catwoman up until very recently.
This was my first time. Yeah.
Same.
And I was trying to explain to you guys. I feel like I owe it to the internet to explain to them what this movie is about, because I feel like most people did not see this movie.
So I think I got this, Sam. It's Selena Kyle. It's Catwoman, right?
No, that's where you're wrong, Hector. That's where you're very wrong.
What?
It's Patience Phillips, a totally different character. This Catwoman gets her powers through, like, ancient Egyptian cats or something after she's killed.
Just like in the comic books, right?
No.
Oh, no, not that either.
No.
Okay.
Look, they were experimenting, and it's a different take on the character that we know and love.
Okay.
And that is Catwoman.
Yes. So this one, you actually, Bat Sam, very nice work. Thank you very much. You did a great job giving us an overview. Let's actually dive into the origin story a little bit and some of these details that we just kind of touched on. Basically, this is not the typical Catwoman origin story, but this is, as you said, not Selena Kyle. This is Patience Phillips. Unlike the Catwoman that maybe we are more familiar with, this is a woman who has cat-like abilities.
Correct. She actually has the physical manifestation of cat qualities.
She jumps a lot. She loves catnip.
She purrs.
She eats tuna out of a can.
Yep.
Guys, stop it.
No, this is all real. This is very real.
Movie.
This is in the movie.
Can I
Hector.
say
Did
this?
you?
I would love to pick y'all's brains if I can ask the Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer Batman movie fans, Clark and Sam, here a question, because here's what I'm thinking. What is the word that I always use whenever I talk about what it is like to be a
Compromise.
Thank
Compromise.
you. This is what it's like to be a comic book fan. I feel like up until, honestly, the past few years with the types of superhero movies and TV shows especially and different projects that we've gotten, the world of animation has always been, I think, a little bit more authentic. But when you get to the live action world, you get compromise. Catwoman, to me, feels like a movie that was chasing a lot of those trends of the early 2000s superhero movies and maybe some 90s superhero movies, instead of looking at the source material and going, let's do the character of Catwoman, let's do a Selena Kyle movie, which is a shame because I would have loved to have seen Halle Berry's take on Selena Kyle. I would have loved to have seen, do you know what I mean? I would have loved to have seen some of the pieces that are in this movie given to us in a different way. So here's what I wanted to ask you as fans of Batman Returns. What were Michelle Pfeiffer's abilities and origins? Because I feel like that's where this movie's getting that from, is the fact that Michelle Pfeiffer's Selena, right? She falls and then there's cats around her and then she is almost resurrected, right?
As far as I can tell, the only abilities that she got from that was she knew how to stand up for herself. She learned how to crack a whip, and she was a good fighter. But most importantly, then it gave her 8 other lives.
That's, okay, so
Very important.
That is very important. And I will say, in Batman Returns, which I will tell you that after I watched 2004's Catwoman, I immediately went to DC Universe and watched Batman Returns. And that is true.
Very important palate cleanser.
Yes, I absolutely did that. But to your point, I would argue that while the Tim Burton Batman movie is more grounded in reality, whether it's a fun kind of superhero comic book reality or not, they do play with this idea that Selena Kyle has 9 lives. So she gets shot. They have a couple of jokes about that. So to your point, 2004's Catwoman is not completely without, precedent to play around in that. I think the problem is they maybe took it a little too literally.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's that scene in Batman Returns, where she's with Penguin and she puts the bird in her mouth, but then she lets it go.
Right.
That's something a cat would do.
And she licks her, she
does this. But the problem is she's doing that on purpose.
Exactly.
In this movie, Patience Phillips goes through what seems like amnesia every night. Like she's constantly snapping back into, wait, what did I do? And so it's a little weird because Selina Kyle is definitely actively choosing to do those things, whereas Patience Phillips, it's like something is taking her over.
Yeah, it's that early 2000s superhero movie like Metamorphosis where they're like, oh, I have all these powers and my senses are enhanced.
Right, but I will say this, of the period, they were making this movie the same time Birds of Prey was still airing on television.
Good point.
Okay, so it is not that big of a stretch for those big sweeping shots that you see over unnamed city. It's not Gotham. We
totally
don't know what
not
city
Gotham.
it is.
No, not Gotham.
Whatever those big sweeping shots, those are very reminiscent of Birds of Prey to me. So the style, I can't say where did they get this from? We know where they got it from. It was the style of the day.
So let's talk a little bit about the casting. So this is actually a diverse cast. We have Halle Berry, we have Benjamin Bratt, and so that's something that's interesting.
Yeah, and what's great is that Halle Berry playing Catwoman, there's some precedent there with Eartha Kitt, with that great callback to when Eartha Kitt played Catwoman in the Adam West 1960s Batman show. And I remember when Halle Berry's Catwoman was coming out that everybody in the press was kind of mentioning that, oh, this is really cool. What a great reference, what a great throwback. The problem is great diverse leads, people of color, great actors, and it's Catwoman. So that's the frustration. That's the compromise.
So close. Well, and also, something I will say that this movie does that's impressive and a little bit ahead of its time, the women are front and center in this movie. Frances Conroy is sort of our guiding force here to the mythology. You have Sharon Stone as our villain. So that's interesting.
Well, I have a question for you, Clark, as a woman.
Yes.
Did you appreciate the plot and the villain revolving around makeup and anti-aging makeup?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Much like all of this movie, it's so close. It's so close. I do love the idea, the broad strokes idea about putting a woman who feels like her worth and her value is only wrapped up in how she looks and talking about ageism and talking about how she's sort of the brains of this corporation and yet her husband is so that's all a good idea, but compromise I do not like that the way that they handled that. It was the execution that was the problem.
Okay, if I had to answer this question of what's your favorite scene, seriously, it is probably the first time Patience Phillips goes out on the town as Catwoman with her first costume.
Yes, let's talk about that first costume.
I thought it was actually pretty great, and it was a fun, very Catwoman-y scene where she goes and fights crime but then decides to steal the diamonds herself. I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. We got something here. So that's probably for, if I had to, as a comic book fan, answer, that's my favorite scene. But honestly, as a what am I watching movie fan, my favorite scene was the basketball scene.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely correct. What am I watching is, it really should be the subtitle of the basketball scene. Because you've played basketball before. You've played co-ed basketball before. It always turns into something like that, right? Clark, no? When you pal around with a brother or something?
Compromise.
Yeah. I feel like that basketball scene is what would happen if someone asked the three of us to direct a really highly stylized sequence involving a game of cricket. We know it exists, but I don't think any of the three of us have ever actually watched a game of cricket.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say maybe Pitov is not as familiar with basketball as most people watching.
Fair point. Yeah.
Very, very fair point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I have some real deal question for you guys.
Okay.
Which do you choose in the feline universe? Catwoman or Cats the movie?
Ooh.
I choose none. I'm a dog person.
Wow. That seems like a trick answer.
I think it's a great answer.
I would choose Catwoman. I could not with cats. I watched it and it wasn't even fun to watch for me. But Catwoman at least can be, hey, you know what? Gather some friends, knock back a couple drinks. Let's journey back to the year 2004.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't care for musicals, and I did not care much for this movie, so I'm gonna choose Whitney Moore's secret option number 3. They kiss.
That's great. Good job. Good thinking, Bad Sam.
Good answer.
Okay, but for realsies though, I did want to ask you guys. You know, we've talked a lot so far about how this movie gets so close to a lot of really interesting and good ideas, whether it's the casting, whether it's like pitting women against each other, etc. And so what would you guys do to improve this version of Catwoman? I know for me, my suggestion would be to, and I don't even mean this in a snarky way, like have the production team read a couple comic books. Because I think there's an idea of what a comic book movie is.
Right.
But if you're dealing with a character like this, there's just so much there that they walked right up to, but then just made a hard left, like went in the complete opposite direction. So I would seriously be like, hey, you know, let's get a better understanding of who the Catwoman is, and then kind of take it from there. But what do you guys think? So
my pitch is leave the movie alone, but instead, because the movie has one reference to the Michelle Pfeiffer, Selena Kyle Catwoman, where when the professorial character was spilling all those pictures and saying, you're not the only woman who is a cat, and there was a picture of Catwoman there on the ground, I'm linking it to the Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher Batman universe, and that universe was linked to Crisis on Infinite Earths. We got that great Robert Wool cameo with Earth 89 is what it was. So that means that Halle Berry's Catwoman movie is part of the DC multiverse that's a part of the Arrowverse. So here's what I say. Let's get a new show this fall coming to the CW. It's called Catwoman. And the pilot is going to have cameos by Halle Berry and Michelle Pfeiffer as the Catwoman of the Catwomen of the past, and now there's a new character. And this new show could dive more into some of the DC lore, but also have its own original take on it. That's fine too, as long as it's part of that multiverse. And main point here, different creative team, I think would be the key to really get this new vision and idea to sell. And I think that would be a lot of fun if there was a Catwoman multiversal type of a thing, and Michelle Pfeiffer and Halle Berry showed up, and they're like, "You're the new Catwoman," and there's some new person.
That's very good. It's close to what I was going to say, which is we've all seen this suggestion online, but I think it works great for this movie. Take one movie and make everyone Muppets except one character, and that character is Halle Berry's Catwoman. Everyone else in this movie is a Muppet. And then it works great.
Great suggestions all around. I don't think it could be any worse. So we know that. All right, friends, that's going to do it for today's Movie Club. Movie Club. I really hope you guys enjoyed taking a trip down memory lane. This movie is a time capsule, and some people love it for that fact alone. And don't forget, we have a DC Daily podcast every week. We have extended interviews with guests, plus current comics chat. It's awesome. So check us out on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and SoundCloud. As for us, we'll be here paying extra for Wi-Fi so you don't miss a thing, which is our pleasure because we're very happy to be back on DC Daily. So we'll all see you again soon. Bye! Bye.